Welcome. If you were unaware, I have been reviewing every game that I play over on Backloggd.com. It's a great site. I love it. You should use it. Whether or not you want to look at other people's reviews or make your own, make lists of stuff. I love lists. If you love lists, go check it out. Why not? I will link to my channel in the description. But anyways, I've been reviewing games over there, and I decided that I wanted to visualize some of them. So I'm gonna just start reading out my reviews with some footage of the game and post them on YouTube. So here we are. Let's do it. Oh boy, people are really sleeping on this game. Don't overlook it because it seems like a meaningless spin-off. It is probably my favorite tactical RPG. It's pretty similar in a few ways to the Mario and Rabbids series, but it does a better job in most categories. Unfortunately, I played the game on the regular difficulty and I totally forgot there were other options. Nearing the end of the game, I was thinking, one of my main issues is that it's too easy, but by that point I didn't feel like swapping difficulties suddenly, and I have read that the higher difficulties are balanced better. I wish I would have played on hard or higher. Instead, I'll just leave this here in case this review convinces you to play the game. It's not just about health increases, it makes the game more tactical due to friendly fire and a couple other changes. Check them out. I don't recommend playing on normal unless you want to breeze through or have a tough time with games like this. I would also like to point out here that I played Persona 5, but not Royal or Strikers. I did play Dancing, but that wasn't much of anything. Anyways, I say this to acknowledge that I don't feel burnt out by Persona 5 in general whatsoever, which may have made this experience better than what others may claim. I'm going to go with a simple positives and negatives lists for this review. First, I'm just going to go through the positives. This combat system is awesome. I love the way you move around. I love the way you strategize to take your turns in a certain order to maximize your movement. I love how you can position enemies a certain way to consistently enable one more attack and extend your turn. With your team of 3, you can use your mobility options to maneuver the map and then triangulate your position. If you make sure you're surrounding at least one downed enemy, anyone within the triangle you've created will be eviscerated by an all-out attack. It's probably the most fun and engaging thing I've done in an RPG of this nature. It's so satisfying every single time. It made me feel like a genius consistently. Ensuring your team is spread out is more risky, as you are less able to help one another, but it allows you to cover the entire map in a giant, deadly triangle. Partially related to the above comment is how much I like certain levels in this game. For example, navigating an arena that has tons of rising and falling platforms that can only be accessed from certain directions is actually really fun. It turns the battles into a maze of sorts, but in a good way. It adds to your sense of mobility. It makes it harder to move around, but it also allows you to really feel like you're solving a fun perspective puzzle at the same time. This isn't always executed well in games, but it's great here. And partially related to that comment is just my general enjoyment of the verticality of the battle arenas. I love using height to your advantage. There's multiple ways they use this vertical nature of levels to give you ways to advantageously position yourself. Rising and falling platforms, ladders, attacks that take advantage of height, etc. All make for really fun ways to turn the layout of the map in your favor. Fine-tuning each character's stats to suit the role you want them to fill is very rewarding. They all have strengths built in, but you can customize them a bit to do exactly what you want, whether it be firearm usage, persona usage, melee attacks, or mobility. There are a lot of options in terms of the crafting of your team. Not only that, but in a miraculous turn of events that most games fail to do, you don't have to use Joker. It's painful when you're playing a Mario RPG, for instance, and you have to use Mario. Ew. The supporting cast in most RPGs are almost always my preferred team to use, and it's rarely an option to ditch the MC. Funnily enough, I actually like Joker, so I used him frequently. Actually, this leads me to my next point. The game encourages you not to use the same team every time by incentivizing you with bonuses. Most missions consist of 2 or 3 back-to-back fights. Between them, you can tweak some things. One of those tweaks you can make is your team setup. However, if you swap to a new team member at this time, you get an HP and SP, skill point, bonus. What I did was switch up my team every single time. You can use 3 party members at once, so I swapped between Makoto, Arena, Haru, Ryuji, Joker, and An. Use 3 of them, then swap to the other 3. Love it. Morgana and Yusuke were only used when I was forced to in a side mission. I really don't care for them as characters, so I was happy to leave them out. An isn't the best either, but I prefer her to them. To wrap up my point, not only did I not have to use the main character, but I was also able to reasonably use all the characters I like. Not only was I not punished for switching up my team all the time, but I was encouraged to do so. This might be my favorite implementation of the way a team is structured in an RPG. Good stuff. As always, the art style, UI design, and animation quality is top-notch. Love it. I'm not a huge fan of the chibi nature, but it doesn't really bother me. It's only really present in a couple of cutscenes, and it doesn't subtract much from the experience. Otherwise, it's beautiful in every way. I will never get over the way Persona games look. Persona Team are untouched in this category. Actually, Hi-Fi Rush managed to kind of match it, to be honest. I enjoyed the Persona Fusion system. What was even more fun is something you unlock a bit later that I won't spoil, but it involves your weapons. It's a cool feature that I'd like to see more of. Great music, as per usual. I will say nothing stood out as uniquely fantastic, but overall, it's one of the better OSTs this year. The 2 new characters introduced into this game are excellent. Arena especially is a lovely addition to the cast. Toshiro is cool too. I won't spoil anything about them here. Additionally, the voice acting is great. It is mostly voice acted outside of side activities, which is greatly appreciated. Again, the 2 new characters specifically do a great job here. It's written well, though it does get a bit repetitive with its messaging at times. Mixing wholesome with humor is something Persona always does well, and it's no different here. Now, I do have a couple negative points, so I'll get them out of the way here. At what turned out to be about the 75% of the way through the game, I was satisfied with the game's length. I thought it was ending, but then it continues for another 5 to 8 hours in a classic Persona fashion. I kind of wish it didn't. I was happy with the 25 or so hours I'd spent with it, but it ended up being about 32, I think. I'm glad it's as short as it is, as opposed to it being 100, but it does get a bit repetitive in the later missions. The enemy variety is a bit lackluster. One of the enemies in particular is just annoying as well. It isn't really satisfying to deal with. It's really just there, literally, to block your path, which kind of sucks. Contrary to one of my positive points, a couple of the levels are annoying to deal with, particularly when you're presented with doors that open and close. Some are by your doing, and some are based on what turn it is. Either way, they impede movement. Your movement options are a highlight of this game's combat system, and you're pretty restricted in the levels with doors. Not a fan. It's too easy. But, again, I don't know if this is truly valid, as I didn't play on a harder difficulty, which I totally should have. I wish I could comment on the added features of the higher difficulties. Overall, if you like Persona or you like tactical RPGs, I highly suggest you do not skip this. It's one of the best of both of those things, though it does have its fair share of issues. I could see a world where I could give this game a 5 out of 5. If I had played on a higher difficulty, it may have happened. Although the game does suffer from a problem of repetition, which might just be too big an issue for a more glowing review to occur. Thank you for watching my first of hopefully many backlogged reviews. If you want to go check out the rest of them before I make videos out of them or as I upload them, go to backloggd.com. I will link my thing in the description, whatever you call it. You know what I mean. You know what I mean. My username, my profile. Anyways, thank you to everybody for watching, and thank you to the people that are supporting me on Patreon. That would be Next Factor, Ookie, Inoff, and Scion. And I'll see you next time.